What's good, peeps? Thanks as always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Don't forget as well, please, to like and share the vids. Again, thanks to everyone that does continue to still do that. You can also support the channel as well. I do have a Patreon account. The link is in the description. All right, let's do this, people. This week in boxing, episode, what do you think it is? 16? Maybe 16? It must be more than 16. I must have done more than 16 of these. I'm going to say episode 20. I think it's that high. I wasn't even going to do this one today, people, just because I was actually on the way this morning to Meadow Park in Boreham Wood to cover Arsenal ladies in an FA Cup tie. And halfway there, and I get the phone call saying the game's been cancelled. I knew it was going to be cancelled. I mean, the day before, I was telling them, you sure this ain't going to be cancelled because of the weather? I was like, no, it's going to be on cancelled. So yeah, a bit disappointed. I'm even more disappointed because, I can't lie to you, my knowledge of female football isn't the greatest. It just isn't. I mean, it's okay, right? I mean, I watch it, but it's not where I know all the players off head like I do kind of in men's football. So I was up all night researching. I'm not joking, all night researching. All my friends were out having a drink, couldn't do that. Researching all night, game cancelled. Anyway, let's talk boxing. There were a couple of fight cards in America. Golden Boy / DAZN put on a fight card headlined by Ryan Garcia, who got a first round knockout over Francisco Fonseca. Beautiful left hook, by the way. Sweet left hook. Could be a contender for knockout of the year so far. The year's just started. I know it's just started, but it was a good knockout. Did you see when Devin Haney came in the ring and they're both wearing WBC belts? I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Ryan Garcia was wearing, I think, the silver belt. I think that's the belt he won. And Devin Haney was wearing, I guess, the full thing, even though Luke Campbell's going to fight for the full thing in a couple of months' time. And really, the full champion is Vasyl Lomachenko. So both of them had on belts that, well, anyway, you get the point. But yeah, Ryan Garcia got the win. That took his record, I think, to 20-0. He's only 21 years old. 20-0. I've said this before. A lot of people ask me, who do I think is going to be the next superstar of boxing? If Ryan Garcia is half as good as I think he could be, then he will be that guy. Trust me, he will fucking start selling big numbers because he's just got the whole package, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's got the whole package. In the ring, I think he's been interviewed. Was it by, who was interviewing him? Was it Chris Mannix? I can't remember who was interviewing him. Was it Brian Kent? No, Chris Mannix, I think. And he said next he wants Linares. That fight's probably going to happen. Linares is also on that card. He got a 4th round stoppage over Carlos Morales. So he says he wants Linares, then Luke Campbell, then Gervonta Davis, then Devin Haney. And as good as that sounds, ain't never going to happen like that. Plus, it shows how fractured the sport is. The fact that he didn't mention Teofimo Lopez or Vasyl Lomachenko just because he knows they're on another network. So it's got to the point where boxers aren't even calling out boxers on other networks. Unless I didn't hear him. I don't think I did hear Lopez or Loma. Could be wrong, but I don't think I did. So yeah, that was that card. Blair Cobbs was also on that fight card yesterday. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him or know who he is. A very flamboyant and unbeaten welterweight. Wait, is he a welterweight or junior middleweight? He might be junior middle, sorry. Anyway, wherever he is, he got a split decision win yesterday over the tough Ghanaian Samuel Cote. So it'd be good to see what happens with him in the next 12 to 18 months. PBC put on a fight card yesterday as well, headlined by Caleb Plant defending his IBF super middleweight crown with a 10th round stoppage victory over Vincent Fegamboots. He's mandatory. Now that's out of the way, he does want a unification fight with Benavidez. Benavidez wants a unification fight with Caleb Plant, so hopefully that fight can happen. It's just a shame that neither of those two guys, so Plant or Benavidez, are even in the conversation for the Canelo fight. Right? It's all about Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, who I don't think are as good as Benavidez. I'm being serious here, by the way. I think Benavidez, I would favour Benavidez to beat Billy Joe Saunders, and I'd favour Caleb Plant to beat Callum Smith. Tough fights, don't get me wrong, but I think they're number 1 and 2 in the super middleweight division. But because of this fracture with boxing and promotions and networks, we're not going to see those fights. So that's disappointing. A fight that was announced last week, I don't think I spoke about it, but Inoue versus Casemiro. It wasn't announced last week, actually. It was announced a few weeks back, but the press conferences, separate press conferences, which were weird, were done last week. This will be for the WBO, WBN, IBF belts, so that's good. That fight will go down in Las Vegas, April 25th. Great fight. Let's get to some news. It's kind of like weird bits of news, not much, but I think we were all shocked this week when Josh Warrington signed with Eddie Hearn. Left Frank Warren, has been with Frank Warren for, 2-3 years. He was with Eddie Hearn initially. Eddie Hearn thought he wasn't worth working with, I guess. He is now, right? Obviously, big fan base, IBF titles. There's been this video, going around. I don't know if you guys have seen it, where Eddie Hearn was interviewed immediately after Galahad versus Warrington and was asked who he thought won. And he kind of laughed, saying, "Oh, Galahad won that fight by a couple of rounds." Well, he was interviewed again by Rob Tebbett from Boxing Social at the press conference to introduce Josh Warrington, and he was asked how he scored that fight. He said a draw. That's promoters for you. Kell Brook obviously came back a couple of weeks back. He's now saying he wants a fight with Errol Spence, 154 pounds. He thinks that obviously he had to dehydrate himself way too much after the Golovkin fight, and that was what caused him the problem in that first fight. I don't know about that personally. I think Spence at 154. Look, Spence ain't small. Kell Brook's talking like Spence won't be massive at 154 pounds as well. Spence is huge for 147. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Kell Brook next. Liam Smith wants that fight. I don't know if Kell wants it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Kell next and when he does fight next. There has been pictures and videos of him back in the gym, which is good, right? So he can keep that weight down. I think he still has an eye on making 147. I know some people laugh at that, but I still think he does. And if he can make it, then obviously there are much better fights from him, I think, at 147 than 154 pounds. Not better, but better in terms of financial packages. A Furman fight, a Porter rematch, there are a lot more money than some of the guys at 154 that I think are just too big a risk and not much reward. So Canelo, this has obviously been something that's been spoken about all this week. Who's going to fight Canelo? We were told that Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders both turned down offers put to them by Golden Boy and Canelo. Obviously, they want more money, right? I mean, everyone just looks at the Canelo thing like a fucking lottery ticket. Go in there, beat him, and then you almost dictate the fucking purse for the rematch. Let's be honest, you do. They all want big money, and neither of them are big draws and bring nothing to the table. I know people might say belts. How many fucking belts has Canelo got? He doesn't really give a shit about belts. I mean, he might do because the 168 belt, right? But, I mean, God. Someone, I think, this week put on Twitter how much Canelo earned for the Mayweather fight. And I think Mayweather got like a guarantee of something like 40 million. I think Canelo got like 5. Yeah. So, and these guys want work for it. Canelo's worked for this money, people. Have they? Not being harsh, by the way. Don't shoot me down. Manuel Charr. Why does this guy keep talking? Why am I even talking about him? He said he wants to come to England and beat up Dillian Whyte and then face Anthony Joshua. Why is he even still relevant? What? I'm sure he's not had a fight for like 2 years, but he's still talking. I think the WBA, who he is number 1 ranked with or number 2 ranked with, trying to say he has to fight Trevor Bryan. So that's the fight that he has to have. And I think that fight's going to happen in Dubai. Manuel Charr just needs to stop. Stop. Ivan Redkach, who bit Danny Garcia in the 8th round of their fight when was that fight? About a month ago. About a month ago. At the time, he was suspended for 1 year by the New York State Athletic Commission, and they withheld his $300,000 purse. Well, they've kind of backtracked on that now, and they've kind of reduced the suspension to 6 months and the fine down to $10,000. I thought it was a ridiculous fight in the first place. Look, I'm not trying to say people should go there biting people, but I mean, I've seen, again, fighters have fucking got away with a lot worse who have taken PDs. $300,000 was ridiculous. Anyway, talking about Redkach, the guy linked to him was Devin Alexander. Devin Alexander's last fight was against Redkach, and he got stopped in the 6th round. Devin Alexander saying he's coming back to the ring, people. I don't know what he has to offer, but he's coming back to the ring. Interesting, right? A fight that's close to being announced, and I expect this fight to be announced in the next few days, maybe even a week or so, is Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. Good fight, right? Very good fight. Dillian Whyte in the last few days has said that Povetkin is a better opponent than Andy Ruiz Jr. Not sure about that. I think Povetkin has a better resume, very good amateur record as well, Olympic gold medalist, etc., but he is going to be 41 soon. That's facts, right? He's going to be 41, and I just think Andy Ruiz Jr. fucking put Anthony Joshua down 3 times and beat Anthony Joshua in June. Anthony Joshua had to change everything, lose all that weight, bring in another coach to beat Andy Ruiz Jr. I'm about to say something else there. To beat Andy Ruiz Jr. That's how much a threat Andy Ruiz Jr. is. So I think Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Dillian White would have been a better fight personally, but I'm not complaining with Povetkin versus White. I think it's a great fight as well. It will be pay-per-view, people. Facts. Daniel Dubois has signed a 5-year contract extension with Frank Warren. Now, I'm not Daniel Dubois' manager. I don't know who they are, although I have seen them a few times. That's a stupid decision. That's a fucking ridiculously stupid decision. I don't know why you'll do that. Again, Dubois fights, we fought 5 times last year, but going forward, he's probably going to fight 3 times a year. So that's a 15-fight contract extension. You just don't do that in boxing. You just don't need to do that in boxing. And you don't do that with Frank Warren. I'm being serious about that. I'm not taking the piss, but Frank Warren, I mean, look, we know he's losing fighters left, right, and centre. Billy Joe Saunders has gone, Liam Smith has gone, Josh Warrington have all gone in the last sort of 8 or 9 months. There's a reason they're going, people. And Daniel Dubois just signed a 5-year contract extension. Stop it. Isaac Chamberlain, we haven't seen him. Well, I don't feel like I've not seen him for a while, but he's signed a deal with Mick Hennessy. Yep, still promoting, and Channel 5. So we are going to see Isaac Chamberlain on free TV, which is good, right? I get the good thing about it. From a bad standpoint, I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, I get the idea that potentially you could have more eyeballs on you, but you're talking potentially. Didn't work for Hughie Fury. No one was interested in those fights when they're on Channel 5. So I don't know. I just think it's not a great deal. There was a lot of talk about Isaac Chamberlain signing a deal with Al Heyman. I'm sure he fucking put something on Twitter about a deal with Al Heyman and PBC. I don't know what's happened with that. But look, it's good to see Isaac Chamberlain back anyway. Let's see what happens. Let's see when his next fight's going to be, etc., etc. His former nemesis, Lawrence Okoli, obviously that fight with Glowacki for a world title. We don't know what's going on with that. There was a lot of talk about that fight happening in March. Now we're here in April, and now we're hearing that it could be on the same card as GGG, which is good, but we'll see. Let's hope we get some news about that fight coming very, very soon. Usyk. What's going on with Alexander Usyk? His fight with Chisora was scheduled. I mean, there were talks about that fight happening in February. Now there are talks about that fight happening in May. His promoters come out and saying he's not injured, they're just being cautious because of an elbow problem, which means he's injured. I wonder if we're going to see the best of him at heavyweight. He has fought once since he beat Tony Bellew in November 2018. This is a guy that cleaned out the cruiserweight division in like 3 years, and now a year and a half later, he's only had 1 fight. I'm not sure. 33 years of age. I do wonder if these injuries, moving up in weight, carrying that extra weight, the long amateur career is starting to take its toll. And will we see the best Alexander Usyk at heavyweight? Don't know anymore. Joe Joyce has opened up as to why he has split from Adam Booth. Says he likes to train in the sun. Okay, cool. And as a result, he's obviously, I think he's brought in Ishmael Salas, I think. Is that who he's brought in? Joe Joyce, for someone that's only been professional for, a couple of years, and had, how many fights has Joe Joyce had? 11? Could be wrong. Is it 11, 12 fights? He seems to have gone everywhere. Like, initially he came out and it was with David Haye. Remember all that? David Haye chasing Derek Chisora around. I'm sure he's had a couple of fights on Matchroom. Went to America, the little Richard Schaefer link up. I don't know if that's still there. Now with Sam Jones, Frank Warren. He's changed trainer a few times. Was he not with Abel Sanchez? Was he? I can't remember. Anyway, guarantee you in that space of time, so those 12 or 11 fights he's had, I'm sure he's had like 4 trainers, 2 or 3 different managers, 3 or 4 different promoters, and has fought on about 3 or 4 different networks. He needs to find a home and stick with that home. That's what he needs to do. All right, we'll end on this one. It's been 30 years this week since Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. And I was watching that fight again yesterday just to remind me of how big an upset that was. Because obviously when Joshua lost to Ruiz, there was a lot of comparisons. Joshua's loss to Ruiz is like not even on, it's not even in the same scale as Mike Tyson losing to Buster Douglas. That was the biggest upset, I'm going to say, in sporting history. I mean, I'm not a sport historian, and I know someone's going to drop something else. I mean, Leicester winning the league was massive, right? And I know there must be some American, I don't know, baseball, basketball, NFL games which are big, but Tyson, who was Iron Mike Tyson back then, losing to Buster Douglas was huge, huge. And if you haven't watched it, go and watch it again and listen to the commentator. I mean, even they're about to have a fucking heart attack because it was the biggest upset at the time ever in boxing. And I don't think we've got anything even close. I'm trying to think of, again, Joshua Ruiz is close. I'm trying to think of any other massive upsets. I mean, look at the heavyweight division. Hasim Rahman, Oliver McCall victories over Lennox Lewis were upsets, but not like Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson. That was massive. Anyway, guys, that's this week in boxing. Peace.